So when the Calgary Flames had their first season in the Alberta hotbed for sports, they almost made the Stanley Cup final. Were it not for a strong Minnesota squad that got rid of them in the semifinals, they would have played the Islanders. Now, the Flames weren't an original franchise. They moved from Atlanta in a series of complicated maneuvers. Now, the 81 Flame season was the first season in Calgary for the Flames and ninth for the franchise. The Flames moved to southern Alberta from Atlanta, where the franchise was then known as Atlanta Flames for the first 8 years of existence. The Flames became the third major league team to represent the city of Calgary after the Calgary Tigers of the 1920s and the WHA's Calgary Cowboys, which had folded in '77. Now, the Flames were purchased for $60 million US by entrepreneur Nelson Scalabini in the spring of 1980. Before the sale was even announced, he had already sold 50% of franchise to a group of Calgary-based investors, including Harley Hotchkiss and All-Star CFL former player Normie Kwong. On May 21st, 1980, it was announced that the franchise was moved to Calgary. While the Cowboys could not manage 2,000 season tickets 3 years previous, the Flames sold 10,000 full and half-season ticket packages in 1980, selling out the venerable Stampede Corral for every game played there. Despite the move west, the Flames remained the East Coast Centre Patrick Division. For practical purposes, however, the anomaly was academic. At the time, the league played a balanced schedule and used a league-wide playoff format. This arrangement will only last one more season before the league realigned to reflect its geography, and it's because Calgary in an East Coast division didn't make any sense. Now, their first NHL game was took place October 9th, ending as a 5-5 tie with the Nordiques. The Flames finished third in the division and qualified for the postseason. Now, the franchise, who had won just 2 playoff games in Atlanta, won 2 playoff series in the first year in Calgary. After sweeping the Blackhawks, they then downed the Flyers, who made the finals in 1980, in 7 games before falling to Minnesota North Stars in the league semifinal. So the Islanders finished first, 48, 18, and 14. Flyers were second, 41, 24, and 15. And the Rangers were behind Calgary, 30, 36, and 14. Calgary was 39, 27, and 14. Now, All-Star Kent Nilsson led Calgary in scoring. His 82 assists and 131 points remain team records to this day. He was also the Flames' lone representative at the 81 All-Star game. Now, the regular season, where it went quite strong, the only negative was in January they went 1-7 on the road. They had some difficulty in their road matches. Now, in the first 3 months of the season, they only lost 4 games at home and went undefeated in January, lost 1 game in February at home, went undefeated at home in March, and undefeated at home in April. Now, they defeated Chicago 3-0 in the opening series. A very, very interesting tilt. Calgary won 4-3 in the opening contests, won 6-2 in the second, and then won in double overtime in Calgary. In Chicago to secure the set. Now, in the series against Philadelphia, they lost 4-0 in the opener at the Spectrum. Then they won 5-4 in Philadelphia, won 2-1 and 5-4 home in Calgary. Lost 9-4 on the road in Game 5. Lost 3-2 at home to Calgary Game 6, but rebounded with a 4-1 victory against the Flyers in Game 7. Now, against Minnesota, Calgary was the home team, losing 4-1 in the opener in front of only 7,226 fans because of the small Saddle Dome. They won Game 2 3-2, but Minnesota turned on the offense with 6-4 and 7-4 victories in Minnesota. Calgary won Game 5 3-1, and Minnesota knocked off the potential finalists 5-3 in the deciding Game 6. Now, the season was quite interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Guy Chouinard had one of his best campaigns, despite only playing 52 contests with Calgary, 31 goals, 52 assists for 83 points. Willie Plett, 239 minutes in penalties to lead the team, but 38 counters. Paul Reinhardt, 67 points. Eric Vale, 64 points, 28 goals. Bobby Millen, 28 counters. Don Lever, 26 counters. Pekka Radicalio for 56 points. A young Jim Pavlinski, 38 points in 80 games. Kevin Lavallee, 35 points, 15 counters. The veteran Bill Clement had 10-12 goals, while the stalwart Ken Houston had 15 goals on the season. Other key players including Phil Russell, Bob Murdoch, Dan LeBratton, Jamie Hislop, Brad Marsh, Bert Wilson, Brad Smith, and Alex McKendry, Earl Ingerfeld, Denny Sear, Randy Holt, with Daniel Bouchard, of course, in net, and Dave Heinmarch, Mike Dwyer, Gord Rappel, Reggie Lemelin, Pat Riggin, and Bobby Gould, of course. Now, in the postseason, it was Nilsson that led all the scores with 17 points, as did Guy Chouinard with 3 goals, 14 assists. Willie Plett had 8 counters, McMillan had 8, and Ken Houston had one of his best playoff postseasons with 15 points in 16 games. Now, in the nets, Pat Riggin went 21, 16, and 4. Dan Bouchard went 4, 5, and 3. And Reggie won 14, 6, and 7. So, but in the postseason, it was Pat Riggin and Lemelin took most of the work. And Daniel Bouchard, of course, was out of town later that year. Now, big trades that year, they traded Jim Craig, Olympic hero, to the Bruins for what turned out to be Steve Conroy and Mike Vernon. Gary Unger was traded to the Kings for Randy Holt and Bert Wilson. Dave Shan was traded to the Maple Leafs for a second-round pick, which ended up being Kevin Lavallee. Jean Pronovost was let go to the Capitals for cash, and Dan Bouchard, again, I think it was a good deal for Calgary, was traded to Northeast for Jamie Hislop. Earl Ingerfeld was traded to Detroit for Dan LeBratton, and of course Brad Smith was traded to the Red Wings for future considerations. Now, free agents signed, including Mike Dwyer, Bob Francis, and Hall of Famer Charlie Bourgeois from the University of Moncton. So in the draft, Denny Sear, Montreal Junior Canadiens, their number 1 pick. Tony Cortali, second. Kevin Lavallee, their second-round pick. And Steve Conroy played almost 1,000 games, another second-round pick. Håkan Loob was taken in the 9th round, probably is the most important, draft late round draft player he took in that decade. So our friend Rick from Sweden wanted me to do something on Calgary. He's always been very impressed with the teams in the NHL from the early 80s. I watched a lot of the games for the Saddle Dome on my old Ford Philco black and white TV, and I was amazed by the high boards. If they had a real rink, I think they would have done better. This wasn't like a rink like the Boston Garden that benefited the Bruins. I think Calgary, like I said, the open style they had could have done a lot better with a better rink. So that's the story of the 1981 Calgary Flames, who came winning 2 games of the Stanley Cup Final as a precursor to 86 and 89. If you like what you're doing here with our Calgary Flames podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.